So next, once we've got the spheres on here, how do we make them move? How do we make them vibrate? So here's the thing. We have something called Mograph, Effector, and Sound Effector. So we're just going to place that. The Sound Effector functions on the cloner. So it's going to pick up the cloner and start moving the cloner. Now, if we click the Sound Effector, if we go to Effector tab, we're going to see here that we don't have any track whatsoever. So one thing that I recommend that is if you do have rights to a music track, you can use it here and dump it here. Or you could go to Pixabay, which I normally go to. So if you go to this website here, you're going to find a lot of different type of music. Now there is a license requirement for some of this music, and you basically need to just have a quick read that, you know, if you could use it, etc., etc. So some of this stuff you can download and it's free. So you just have to choose the right one with the beat. Okay, this one you can see has nice strong beats. There's one strong beat here afterwards and so forth. So this one might actually work out really well for me. Again, it's subject to you, but notice on the right hand side you've got this little robot face. What that means is that this was artificial AI generated, and so what we're going to do is I'm just going to grab this one and download it. And here you have the donate button. So I'm just going to use it for free for now, but I have donated before to this website. So it is available for hire. Load the sound. And there it is. So then the sound's in there now. So if we go and hit play, it's going to impact the spheres almost immediately, and it does that quite aggressively. So we now need to control what it does and how does it do it. So I'm just going to lower that, stop that for a moment. So now notice that it's only using this particular probe for the whole thing. By adding more probes, you'll be basically segregating which part of this spiral you will be impacting. Now, if I go ahead and just keep on adding more of them, you're going to see now all the spheres vibrate and change in different ways, subject to which particular frequency the sound is playing on. So let me explain that a little bit further. So this particular probe here is working on the very first part of these spheres, and then the second one. So it divides it evenly and uniformly and says, okay, I've got 5 probes. I'm going to divide this into 5 sections, and in each frequency is going to work on that particular allocated section. I hope that all makes sense. So what we don't want to do is we want to remove all the probes, and we just want one big probe across the whole thing. We want them all to move in unison, and at the same time we don't want them to be going nuts. So we would basically want to control it a little bit more. So let's decrease the strength. There we go. So I'm just going to lower the volume here on my side so it's not interfering. Okay, so now you can see how the actual spheres are impacted by the sound. Now notice how it's going below, quite a lot below and quite a bit higher up from where it started, and that's all happening because of the parameter settings are 50 centimeters. So it's actually going 50 centimeters up and down. So that's the position changes according to the frequency changes of the sound. So we're going to reduce this and drop it down to say 5 centimeters. So that means that it's going to vibrate within 5 centimeters up and down. So the y-axis, so it's here, so it's going to go up and down, up, +5, -5. So let's play that again so you can see it. Okay, so that's much more controlled, and you can see how it's controlling that. Okay, so we can obviously increase the effector, so we can go from 20 to say a little bit more, so you can actually see it. There we go. So it's much more impactful. So if we go over Okay, so that's one way to do it. Now, so notice that all the spheres are basically static and they're sitting in their positions, which is fine. We're going to change that a little bit later on. But let's first now give the spheres a little bit of a texture and also change the shape. Maybe not go with spheres, but with something else. So we're just going to go straight into the sphere object here. We're going to reduce the segments. And if we keep on reducing them, we can change it to something like this, or even a, maybe, yeah, something like that, like a little diamond. So now what we can do is add a material to these spheres. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and create a material. I created this one before. It's just basically a gold material style. So I'm just gonna remove it and do it again. So let me just delete that one. So if we go to create material, like so, here on the right hand side you have presets. We're going to go ahead and hit gold or copper. Let's go copper. Yeah. And I'm just going to drag it on top of the sphere. And now I have copper spheres, or copper, they're no longer spheres, are they? Copper objects all the way around. Okay. Now if I play it again, it's the same thing, but this time just different objects. Now, what I want to do is I want to play with the cloner so that I can adjust how these objects are on the spine, and what's happening there. So if I go back to the cloner, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at changing the rate, right? So if I move this rate variance, see how if I move it left to right, it starts changing, giving you that the illusion that it's actually moving apart. So what's actually happening is that I'm getting, see if I move it slightly to the right, I have one extra one at the beginning and one at the very top drops off. So that's all that's happening here. It's like first in, first out. It's coming around like that. It's just, and it's giving you that sort of spirally motion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go back to my first frame, and I'm going to select this particular button here, and I'm going to tell it record that. Okay. Then I'm going to go all the way to the end. Let me go back here and click that. Now I should actually have 100% at the end of my frame rate, and as I go down, 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 it decreases uniformly until it hits 0. So now I've got this happening. Okay, so everything's moving around in the circle, and yeah, and it's vibrating to the music. Perfect. Okay, so the other thing that I might want to do as well is start changing the count. So maybe I might start at say 20, and by the time I finish, it will be way more, and it'll just increase up to whatever I want. So I'm going to go ahead and click count is 20. So I'm going to make sure that I select that 20, and then at the end, I want my count to be 164, yeah, 155, and I'm going to click that. So now as I go down, there's going to be less, and more later. So I'm just going to click play and see how that looks. And notice how there's more and more density on the spiral, on the helix, giving you that interesting and dramatic look. So I'm just going to go and pause that. Okay, so the way I did that once more, just to recap, is I've hit rate, this button here, at the beginning of the frame rate, and then I moved it all the way to the end, and I changed how much I want here, and I hit it again, and that gave me that uniformity across here. Now, if you want to really see what's actually going on, you can also go to Windows and go to the animation drop sheet, right? And here, if you go to cloner, you can now see the rate and the count. These are the two ones that we've just changed. The count is 154. You can see now they appear here. And you can actually, if you open them up, you can actually see how they're changing. Notice it's uniform. I can change that. I could basically start increasing it like that. So it basically aggressively increases, or give it a bit more of a slope. Okay, so there's a couple of options that we can have. What I can do right now is if I select them all, and if I hit this line, it will be just a straight line from left to right. Now I'll do the same thing with rate. I'm going to basically have it uniform, so there is none of that, but it's all just uniform. So I'm just going to go straight into here, select all that. Oh. Highlight them first. Select the points, and line. There we go. Okay, so now it's going to be very linear. So if I go back at the beginning, you can do a ease in, ease out, but given what I'm doing here, I'd rather it just be straight out hardcore from the very beginning and all the way to the end and stop. Okay, so now if I don't want this window anymore, I can just simply just go back up to Windows and remove it. Okay, and there we go. We're back where we started. So the other thing, how else can you control these objects to sound? So if you actually go to the sound emitter, the sound effector, that is, you can then from here, you can go to perimeter and say, look, I don't mind you changing the position of the objects according to the sound, but I also would like you to do a bit of a rotation. So you can change your rotation as well. So they all rotate in some ways every time there's sound. So if I go back from to the beginning, now they're also rotating. Okay, wait for the sound. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it with relative and effector for now. But yes, you can play with this. You can also introduce color modes. And if you combine your color modes with the effectors and add different probes, you can allocate a specific color to a specific frequency as well. We can play a lot with some of these options. The main thing is to have the sound effector and the cloner. The sound effector is always going to affect the cloner. And once you have the cloner, you can allocate the object and then allocate how you want to clone it. Do you want to clone it on a helix, or do you want to clone it in a grid, etc.? So that's all that we've done. Now, if you don't like the song and you want to change it, you can just simply go to the effector, go to the soundtrack, and change it here. And that would make the adequate change, and then you basically see the impact of these objects against that sound. Well, this is the first part of the animation, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. But it's very, very easy. It's straightforward. CINEMA4D is very good that way. So just to recap, we've added a sound effector. The sound effector is functioning on top of the cloner, and the cloner is just basically cloning these particular objects. It was a sphere, but we reduced the size of it, so it's now become this particular type of object, which gives it a little bit more interesting look, I guess. And then what we've done is we added a soundtrack. We went to Pixabay to collect one, and we also changed how the rate of the cloners against the spline are working. So we changed the rate here, and we also changed the count, and we animated that. So now it's zipping around the Sonos speaker, which is great. Okay. All right. Bye for now.